everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we're going outside for our lesson.
That's right. Today we are gardening. We are going to set up our own garden.
Okay, that means growing plants and maybe even food. So let's take a listen to this dialogue, and we'll be back in a moment to talk more about it.
I've decided to grow my own garden.
What? You don't know the first thing about gardening.
On the contrary, I've been reading a lot of books about the subject.
Oh yeah? Tell me then, smarty pants. How will you go about setting up your garden?
Well, first I need to buy some things such as fertilizer, seeds, and tools.
What type of tools?
You know, the basics. A rake, shovel, spade, and a hoe.
Right. Well, it seems like you have all your bases covered. What's next?
I'll till the soil and then sow the seeds. I'll then add some fertilizer and voila! Gardening all done.
Well, good luck with your garden, especially considering we're in the dry season and it won't rain for the next 3 months.
All right, we're back. So a lot of vocab related to gardening. We mentioned a lot of tools, and we're going to explain a lot of those now on Language Takeaway.
Language Takeaway.
Okay, so gardening has some very special tools, like you said, Marco. The first one is one that I am not, well, it's actually not a tool. It's a part of gardening, something that we use to help the plants grow, and I really don't like it because it smells bad.
Exactly. It smells kind of bad, and it has a very strong smell, and that is called fertilizer.
Fertilizer. So basically, fertilizer is something that you use in a garden to help the plants grow better.
Right. I think it has a lot of vitamins and minerals that the plant needs to grow better, faster, stronger.
Exactly. Fertilizer.
Okay, good. And well, now we're going to mention 4 tools that we use in gardening, basic tools. The first one being a rake.
A rake.
Rake.
So a rake is actually something that's very common in most houses, especially houses with a yard or a garden. It's not just a gardening tool, but it is something that has a long handle, and we use it to clear the ground of rocks or leaves.
Right. So just imagine it's kind of like a big brush for your garden. It collects things, right?
Right. It's like a big brush it's pulling things out of the ground or away from the ground, especially in the fall, like October or November, when all the leaves fall off the trees and you have to take them off the grass. You use a rake to pull them.
So you use a rake to pull them, and you also call the action of using a rake, you say, you rake the garden.
To rake.
Okay.
That's right. So to rake the leaves. I hate raking the leaves.
All right. And now the other tool that we have is very common, not only in gardening, but for construction work, for many things. You have a shovel.
Shovel. So a shovel is basically a big metal spoon.
Right.
And you use it to make a hole in the ground.
Exactly. So, as we say, we use it a lot in gardening to make holes for maybe the plants, but also in construction, if you want to make a hole in the ground and things like this, you use a shovel. And now a smaller version of the shovel that you use only with your hand, this is called a spade.
A spade. So this is very small, like you said, and it's actually special because of its shape. A spade has a point. A shovel is round, and a spade has a point. And what's interesting, Marco, is it's actually very common somewhere else.
In cards.
That's right, in cards. So cards have different shapes. One is a heart, one is a diamond. One of them is a spade. So the one that's pointy, that's called a spade, and it's used for digging kind of precision holes.
Right, exactly. So maybe you don't want to use a big shovel. If you want to make maybe a small hole in the ground, you would use a spade. And now our last tool has a kind of a funny spelling. It's H-O-E, and it's pronounced hoe.
Hoe. So again, this is a tool with a very long handle, and you use it to maybe make the ground softer or to turn up the ground. So when you're first starting to plant a garden, the ground is very hard. It's very tough, right? And this is a really important tool for that period because you can basically turn up the ground. You're not digging anything, but you're mixing up the dirt a little bit to make it softer.
Okay, very good. So that's when you use this tool. It's kind of a dirt or a soil mixer.
You can also pull out those nasty weeds with a hoe.
Okay, good. So 4 key tools that we've just taken a look at now. But now let's move on to 2 verbs that are basically very important when you're talking about gardening and all this is, as you mentioned, you talked about mixing the soil. And in the next line, we see that it says, I'll till the soil. To till.
Okay, so basically this is a way of turning up that soil, but you're doing it kind of in lines, right? So you're mixing up the soil and making it soft. You're preparing the soil for planting. And so you till the soil. Soil, of course, in this case is that dirt. It's earth.
Right, it's earth. So to till is to prepare it for planting.
Till the soil, that's right.
To till the soil, okay.
And what do we do after the soil has been tilled?
Well, then we sow the seeds.
Okay, so seeds are baby plants, basically. And we sow the seeds. When we sow the seeds, we're putting the seeds into the ground.
So that's basically planting the seeds. You can say we plant the seeds or we sow the seeds.
Okay.
And the opposite of sowing?
The opposite of sowing is reaping. R-E-A-P, to reap. So we actually have a phrase in English. This is very, very famous, very common. We say, you reap what you sow.
You reap what you sow. That's right. So you basically collect what you planted, and that's kind of what you do in life.
So we say, if you haven't planted anything good, you're not going to reap anything good.
Exactly. It's a very popular phrase. All right. So we've covered a lot of vocab here. Why don't we go back, listen to the dialogue again, and we'll be back with Fluency Builder.
I've decided to grow my own garden.
What? You don't know the first thing about gardening.
On the contrary, I've been reading a lot of books about the subject.
Oh yeah? Tell me then, smarty pants. How will you go about setting up your garden?
Well, first I need to buy some things such as fertilizer, seeds, and tools.
What type of tools?
You know, the basics. A rake, shovel, spade, and a hoe.
Right. Well, it seems like you have all your bases covered. What's next?
I'll till the soil and then sow the seeds. I'll then add some fertilizer and voila, gardening all done.
Well, good luck with your garden, especially considering we're in the dry season and it won't rain for the next 3 months.
All right, we're back, and we have 4 phrases for you on Fluency Builder, and we're going to take a look at those now.
Fluency Builder.
This first phrase is useful in any conversation, I think, especially if you're trying to impress somebody. So basically, one person in this dialogue says, you know what? You don't know the first thing about gardening. That means you don't know anything about gardening. And what does he say in response?
On the contrary.
On the contrary. So the contrary means the opposite. So basically, this means the opposite is true.
Right. You're basically saying, I disagree. What you were saying is false. It's actually the opposite.
So maybe, I have a feeling, Marco, that it's going to rain tomorrow.
Actually, on the contrary, I saw in the news that it's going to be very sunny tomorrow.
Oh, well, that's good news.
So that's a way of maybe politely disagreeing with someone or saying to someone that, well, you're wrong. It's actually the opposite of what you're saying. Okay. Moving on to our second phrase. It's actually a colloquial way of kind of making fun of someone. When you say, all right, then, smarty pants.
Okay, smarty pants. Don't think about this too much. We're not talking about pants, actually.
Right.
But this is a way of saying, okay, if you're so smart, then tell me that. It's sarcasm.
It's sarcasm, exactly.
Yeah. So this person says, oh, actually, I know a lot about gardening. And the other person says, oh, really, smarty pants?
So you can actually describe a person in this way. Maybe a person that it thinks they know a lot, or sometimes what you say, a Mr. Know-It-All. You also say it's a smarty pants.
Right, so someone who thinks they know a lot, or everything even.
Right. Mr. Know-It-All or a smarty pants. All right, and our third phrase is interesting because we have a setup here when the person says, how will you go about setting up your garden, right?
Okay, so to go about doing something. There's 2 important parts to this. So, Marco, the first part is how you go about. This means how you do.
Right, so you're basically, how will you do this?
What's your approach?
What's your approach? So, how will you go about plus, and then the verb in ing. So how will you go about setting up your garden? How will you start, or what is your approach to creating your garden.
So maybe, Marco, you want to write a book, and I can ask you, well, how will you go about starting your book?
Right. Or if I'm writing a book, you can say, how will you go about investigating for your book? Mm-hmm. So what is the approach you're going to take? How will you do it?
How do you plan on doing something?
Exactly. And our final phrase here is very commonly used for all sorts of situations. Basically, if a person is prepared, you say, well, you have all your bases covered.
Okay, this is a great phrase. It comes right from sports. Very common in English to have sports phrases. This comes from the sport baseball.
Right.
So in baseball, the field is a diamond. There are 4 corners or 4 bases. And the runners have to go from one base to the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they get a point. But in this case, we're saying the other team, they have their bases covered. That means they're protecting their bases. And in speech, we say, if you have your bases covered, like you said, Marco, you're very well prepared.
Right. So you're ready, you're prepared, you have really planned out and thought of what you're going to do, so you have all your bases covered.
So, Marco, for example, you just told me that it's going to be sunny tomorrow, but I think it still might rain. So, to have all my bases covered, I'm going to bring an umbrella anyway.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Or maybe you have a presentation at work and you've prepared your PowerPoint presentation, you have your drawings, your copies, you have everything ready. You have all your bases covered for that meeting.
That's right.
Okay, so why don't we go back and listen to our dialogue for the last time, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more.
I've decided to grow my own garden.
What? You don't know the first thing about gardening.
On the contrary, I've been reading a lot of books about the subject.
Oh yeah? Tell me then, smarty pants. How will you go about setting up your garden?
Well, first I need to buy some things such as fertilizer, seeds, and tools.
What type of tools?
You know, the basics. A rake, shovel, spade, and a hoe.
Right. Well, it seems like you have all your bases covered. What's next?
I'll till the soil and then sow the seeds. I'll then add some fertilizer and voila! Gardening all done.
Well, good luck with your garden, especially considering we're in the dry season and it won't rain for the next 3 months.
All right, we're back. So gardening is actually a very popular thing in many countries. I know many people as well who prefer to have their own personal garden to grow their own vegetables, which they say taste a lot different from the ones you buy at the supermarket.
They do. I think personally that homegrown vegetables, so vegetables that you grow yourself, tend to taste a lot better than the ones you get in the grocery store. They also look different. They're not as pretty.
Right.
But that's because they have less chemicals.
Yeah, I think it's a very popular thing, and well, not only gardening your own vegetables, but some people just enjoy it as a hobby to have some plants and different types of things in their backyard.
Yeah, many people say it's very relaxing. You get to go outside, you're in the sunshine. It's a very calming activity.
Yeah, it seems like it's very relaxing. A little bit boring at times. Is basically you're waiting for your plants to grow. But I imagine that once they do, you've accomplished it, it must feel great to see that you've actually brought life.
I'm sure, like 20 minutes every day, it's not so bad.
Yeah. It's actually a very interesting hobby, and we want to know if in your country or in your town, do you have enough space for a garden? Do you like gardening or maybe growing your own food? I think that's a very interesting topic.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Do you do this? Do you have friends who garden? Our website is englishpod.com. We hope to see you there.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
In opposition to what has been stated. On the contrary. To make ready for use. Set up. A hand implement consisting of a row of teeth. Rake. A tool with a long handle used for lifting and throwing. Shovel. A tool with a heavy metal blade used for digging. Spade. A garden tool that has a flat blade on a long hand. Hoe. Have all the things prepared. Base covered. A person who tries to show he is so smart. Smarty pants. Prepare for growing plants. Till. Something used when something is being presented. Voila.
Let's try that faster.
In opposition to what has been stated. On the contrary, a tool with a heavy metal blade used for digging. Spade. A hand implement consisting of a row of teeth. Rake. A tool with a long handle used for lifting and throwing. Shovel. To make ready for use. Set up. Prepare for growing plants. Till. A person who tries to show he is so smart. Smarty pants. A garden tool that has a flat blade on a long hand. Hoe. Have all the things prepared. Base covered. Something used when something is being presented. Voila.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
On the contrary. On the contrary, many Canadians do not speak French, especially in Western Canada. On the contrary. On the contrary, watering your plants every day will often kill them. On the contrary. On the contrary, I agree with you completely this time. Smarty pants. She thinks she's such a smarty pants just because she can remember all 50 states and their capitals. Smarty pants. If you're such a smarty pants, then what is 9 times 6.5 divided by 1.8 subtract 0.57? Smarty pants. So tell us, smarty pants, what should we do next, since none of our ideas seem good enough for you? Hoe. I grabbed my gardening hoe and started scraping the weeds out of my garden. Hoe. My neighbor always uses the scuffle hoe, but I prefer the heart hoe. Hoe. My mom's back problems went away as soon as we bought her a garden hoe because she didn't have to keep bending over to take the weeds out of the garden. Base covered. We covered all the bases in the first meeting. Now let's get down to business. Base covered. As for financial security, she had all her bases covered. Base covered. Are you sure we covered all the bases, or did we miss something? Till. The workers tilled the soil until sundown. Till. I grabbed my spade, garden fork, and rake and went out to till my garden. Till. It is not good to till your soil more than once or twice per year.
Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we have a special lesson for all of you who are looking for a new apartment or house.
Or even if you're not looking for an apartment, this lesson will be useful because it can help you describe what your current apartment or house looks like.
That's right. So we're going to be describing an apartment and other vocabulary related to apartment hunting. Why don't we take a look at some of the first words that we have in vocabulary preview?
Vocabulary preview.
We're going to hear these two words in the dialogue. The first one is landlord.
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 All right. So who is a landlord, or what is a landlord?
Well, it's pretty simple. A landlord is the person who owns the house
Okay.
or apartment.
So the owner of the house.
Right. And a landlord rents out the apartment to the tenants.
Okay. Very good. Tenants.
Tenants.
So the tenants are the people that are renting the apartment or house.
Exactly.
Two important words that we'll find in the dialogue, tenants and landlord.
So why don't we take a listen to the dialogue now, and we'll hear as a couple is checking out a new apartment.
Hi, we are the Christiansens. We're here to see the apartment.
Oh, hi. Sure. Come on in. Well, as you can see, the place has just been renovated. The previous tenants left a huge mess here, so the landlord has redone everything.
It looks great. It's so bright and airy. What great light. I really love these hardwood floors. What's the square footage of this place?
Well, it's about 120 square meters, or 1,300 square feet, more or less. The landlord has also installed new kitchen appliances. There's a new dishwasher and a professional-grade gas range. Really, at this price, this place is an amazing deal.
I love it. But wait, what are the payment terms?
First and last month rent as deposit, and rent is due on the first of every month. Considering the amount of money invested into the apartment, it's a very good deal.
Yes, it is. Too good to be true.
The living room and dining room are quite spacious, as you can see. And down this hall, here's the master bedroom. It has a huge walk-in closet and an ensuite bathroom. We can't go in there yet as the the cleanup crew hasn't finished yet.
What do you mean? What's in here?
All right. So apparently the apartment was too good to be true.
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly what they were expecting to find in the bathroom.
Exactly. Well, we did find a lot of great words and phrases, so why don't we take a look at that now in Language Takeaway?
Language takeaway.
We're just going to look at a bunch of vocabulary items related to apartments and house hunting. So we've got a lot to cover here, so let's get started with the first one. Renovated.
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 Right, so the apartment was newly renovated.
Okay, so the verb to renovate. Great word, and I think some examples will help us understand the meaning.
Example 1.
I had to renovate my kitchen because I accidentally burned everything while cooking.
Example 2.
The city recently renovated the ceiling of the local church.
Example 3.
John is planning on renovating his nightclub so as to make it more modern.
Okay, so basically to renovate means to make new again.
Right. When you renovate a house or an apartment, you take everything down and build it back up again.
Okay, so it's usually only used for buildings, for apartments, for houses.
Or offices.
You don't say you renovate your computer.
Yep. And also, when you just do something really simple, like change the paint color, that's not a renovation.
Okay.
That's redecoration. When you renovate, you have to use a hammer and saw and lots of tools.
A lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So the apartment was newly renovated and it was bright and airy.
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 All right, so airy, well, I guess we understand the word air,
Yeah.
right? So if an apartment or something is airy,
It has lots of space, lots of place to move around.
okay, so it's wide, it's
open.
It's open, okay.
yeah.
An open apartment. Very good. Now for our next word, an important question. She asked for the square footage.
Square footage.
The square footage of the apartment.
Okay, so we know square foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So feet like a measure of space.
Right?
The square footage is just basically the area, how big.
Okay. So why don't we listen to some examples of how we can use these two words, square footage, in a sentence.
Example 1.
As a civil engineer, I have to calculate the square footage of the construction site.
Example 2.
Robert is worried that the square footage of this land is not big enough.
Example 3.
If you multiply the width of the room by the length, you will have the square footage of the room.
Those are some great examples, and I find this, the ending of this word, footage, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess you can only use it with the imperial system.
So you can also say tonnage,
Right?
so how big, how heavy, or mileage.
Mileage. Right, but you can't say, for example, in meters, you wouldn't say meterage.
No, you can't say that.
Right?
Yep.
So it's not for the metric system, it's only for some units of measurement in the imperial system.
Exactly.
All right, so after we've measured the square footage of the apartment, we saw that they had new appliances.
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 Appliance.
So kitchen appliances, what are those?
Machines that do stuff in the kitchen.
All right, so a blender, a stove, a microwave.
Yep.
Or I can say electric appliances.
So like your TV, an iron, a vacuum cleaner.
Okay, so appliance can be any type of machine that's used
In a house.
in a house.
Yep.
And, well, one of these appliances was a professional grade gas range.
Okay, this is a great phrase, and I want to break it down. So, a gas range. Now, this is basically a stove, right?
Okay,
That uses gas instead of electricity.
so I can have an electric range.
Exactly. Now, professional grade. This is something that's really high quality
So if it's high quality, why do we say it's professional grade?
because it's so good that professionals use it.
Okay, so can I only have professional grade kitchen appliances?
No, of course not. You can have a professional grade anything, like a professional grade carpet, for example.
Okay, or a professional grade pickup truck.
Or you can even change this a little bit and say industrial grade.
So after we've seen all the appliances, they describe the house as spacious.
Spacious.
The house is very spacious,
Pretty easy. We know the word space here, right?
right?
So obviously this means lots of space.
It has lots of space.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe spacious and airy are a little bit similar, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, once we were in the master bedroom, we saw that they had a walk-in closet.
A walk-in closet.
Walk-in closet.
A walk-in closet.
Right, so this is very easy. I guess walk in,
You can walk into it.
right? And so it's a huge closet, right?
Yeah. Now, just a note on the spelling here. Walk in are hyphenated.
Okay, walk-in closet. Very good. And apart from this beautiful closet, we had an ensuite bathroom.
Ensuite bathroom.
Ensuite bathroom,
Sorry, another note on the spelling here. It's E-N
right?
hyphen S-U-I-T-E.
So even though it's E-N, we pronounce it like an O-N.
Yep.
Ensuite.
So an ensuite bathroom is a bathroom inside the room.
Okay, inside the master bedroom. Very good. Ensuite bathroom. So a lot of great words describing the apartment and also other aspects of real estate.
So why don't we listen to these one more time in context, and we'll see how they fit together to describe an apartment.
Hi, we are the Christiansens. We're here to see the apartment.
Oh, hi. Sure. Come on in. Well, as you can see, the place has just been renovated. The previous tenants left a huge mess here, so the landlord has redone everything.
It looks great. It's so bright and airy. Oh, what great light. I really love these hardwood floors. What's the square footage of this place?
Well, it's about 120 square meters, or 1,300 square feet, more or less. The landlord has also installed new kitchen appliances. There's a new dishwasher and a professional-grade gas range. Really, at this price, this place is an amazing deal.
I love it. But wait, what are the payment terms?
First and last month rent as deposit, and rent is due on the first of every month. Considering the amount of money invested into the apartment, it's a very good deal.
Yes, it is. Too good to be true.
The living room and dining room are quite spacious, as you can see. And down this hall, here's the master bedroom. It has a huge walk-in closet and an ensuite bathroom. We can't go in there yet as the the cleanup crew hasn't finished yet.
What do you mean? What's in here?
All right, so this is always kind of difficult to look for a new apartment and to go and see them. But it's interesting here, they were renting and they had a real estate agent.
Yeah, and actually this is very uncommon in America, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess you don't really use a real estate agent unless you're going to buy a house or apartment.
Mm-hmm. So when you're renting, you just go and look by yourself.
Right, you can find ads in the newspaper, on the internet, and deal directly with the landlord.
Right. So after you've done your house hunting and found your apartment, you got to set up the payment conditions.
Right, like we saw in the dialogue, the payment terms were first and last month's rent as deposit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically they'll keep that just in case you damage something in the apartment.
Or have a monster living in your bathroom.
Exactly. And another thing is that I've noticed in some countries you pay rent in advance.
Right, so in America, you only pay 1 month's rent at a time, right?
Right. So I guess this is an interesting topic. Real estate and apartment hunting and renting is different in different countries. So that's where you guys need to come and tell us how does this work in your country?
You can also use some of the vocabulary in this dialogue to tell us about your apartment.
Right. How many rooms do you have? Bedrooms, dining rooms?
What's the square footage?
Exactly. Or how many square meters, right?
Yep.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. Please come in.
Come on in.
The person that rents a house.
Tenant.
Disorder, unorganized.
Mess.
The owner of the apartment.
Landlord.
Spacious so that air moves freely.
Airy.
Showing how big one's space is measured in feet.
Square footage.
Electric equipment found in a house.
Appliance.
Good enough to satisfy professional use.
Professional grade.
A stove that uses gas to cook.
Gas range.
Large, having lots of space.
Spacious.
A room contained in a bedroom for storing clothes.
Walk-in closet.
A bathroom within the main bedroom.
Ensuite bathroom.
A room or space that is just below the roof of a building and that is often used to store things.
Attic.
The part of a building that is entirely or partly below the ground.
Basement.
An area of ground, such as the ground around a house or in a garden or park, that is covered with short grass.
Lawn.
The business of selling land and buildings.
Real estate.
To allow someone to use something for a period of time in return for payment.
Lease.
Let's try that faster.
Disorder, unorganized.
Mess.
The person that rents a house.
Tenant.
To allow someone to use something for a period of time in return for payment.
Lease.
A room or space that is just below the roof of a building and that is often used to store things.
Attic.
Spacious so that air moves freely.
Airy.
An area of ground, such as the ground around a house or in a garden or park, that is covered with short grass.
Lawn.
The owner of the apartment.
Landlord.
The business of selling land and buildings.
Real estate.
The part of a building that is entirely or partly below the ground.
Basement.
Please come in.
Come on in.
A stove that uses gas to cook.
Gas range.
Electric equipment found in a house.
Appliance.
Good enough to satisfy professional use.
Professional grade.
A room contained in a bedroom for storing clothes.
Walk-in closet.
Large, having lots of space.
Spacious.
Showing how big one's space is measured in feet.
Square footage.
A bathroom within the main bedroom.
Ensuite bathroom.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
I had to renovate my kitchen because I accidentally burned everything while cooking. The city recently renovated the local church. John is planning on renovating his nightclub so as to make it more modern.
Airy.
I'm glad we took out all the extra furniture. Now this room is a lot more airy.
Airy.
The living room looks great. That big window really makes it feel more airy.
Airy.
Our office has a high ceiling and big windows, so it feels really open and airy.
Square footage.
As a civil engineer, I have to calculate the square footage of the construction site.
Square footage.
Robert is worried that the square footage of the house wasn't big enough for his family.
Square footage.
What's the square footage of the living room?
Appliance.
In this store, you can buy any type of kitchen appliance, such as a toaster, a blender, etc.
Appliance.
All of our electrical appliances were damaged by the thunderstorm.
Appliance.
My cousin is selling all her household appliances because she is moving to China. This job offer is amazing. It's almost too good to be true. I can't believe you got this car for free. I think it sounds too good to be true. I found the perfect boyfriend. He cooks, cleans, and treats me well. It's almost too good to be true.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Please come in.
Come on in.
The person that rents a house.
Tenant.
Disorder, unorganized.
Mess.
The owner of the apartment.
Landlord.
Spacious so that air moves freely.
Airy.
Showing how big one's space is measured in feet.
Square footage.
Electric equipment found in a house.
Appliance.
Good enough to satisfy professional use.
Professional grade.
A stove that uses gas to cook.
Gas range.
Large, having lots of space.
Spacious.
A room contained in a bedroom for storing clothes.
Walk-in closet.
A bathroom within the main bedroom.
Ensuite bathroom.
A room or space that is just below the roof of a building and that is often used to store things.
Attic.
The part of a building that is entirely or partly below the ground.
Basement.
An area of ground, such as the ground around a house or in a garden or park, that is covered with short grass.
Lawn.
The business of selling land and buildings.
Real estate.
To allow someone to use something for a period of time in return for payment.
Lease.
Let's try that faster.
Disorder, unorganized.
Mess.
The person that rents a house.
Tenant.
To allow someone to use something for a period of time in return for payment.
Lease.
A room or space that is just below the roof of a building and that is often used to store things.
Attic.
Spacious so that air moves freely.
Airy.
An area of ground, such as the ground around a house or in a garden or park, that is covered with short grass.
Lawn.
The owner of the apartment.
Landlord.
The business of selling land and buildings.
Real estate.
The part of a building that is entirely or partly below the ground.
Basement.
Please come in.
Come on in.
A stove that uses gas to cook.
Gas range.
Electric equipment found in a house.
Appliance.
Good enough to satisfy professional use.
Professional grade.
A room contained in a bedroom for storing clothes.
Walk-in closet.
Large, having lots of space.
Spacious.
Showing how big one's space is measured in feet.
Square footage.
A bathroom within the main bedroom.
Ensuite bathroom.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
I had to renovate my kitchen because I accidentally burned everything while cooking. The city recently renovated the local church. John is planning on renovating his nightclub so as to make it more modern.
Airy.
I'm glad we took out all the extra furniture. Now this room is a lot more airy.
Airy.
The living room looks great. That big window really makes it feel more airy.
Airy.
Our office has a high ceiling and big windows, so it feels really open and airy.
Square footage.
As a civil engineer, I have to calculate the square footage of the construction site.
Square footage.
Robert is worried that the square footage of the house wasn't big enough for his family.
Square footage.
What's the square footage of the living room?
Appliance.
In this store, you can buy any type of kitchen appliance, such as a toaster, a blender, etc.
Appliance.
All of our electrical appliances were damaged by the thunderstorm.
Appliance.
My cousin is selling all her household appliances because she is moving to China. This job offer is amazing. It's almost too good to be true. I can't believe you got this car for free. I think it sounds too good to be true. I found the perfect boyfriend. He cooks, cleans, and treats me well. It's almost too good to be true.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another lesson at English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine. And in the spirit of Halloween, we have a Halloween lesson for you.
Happy Halloween. It's Halloween.
It's Halloween. And this is an elementary level lesson. So we're talking about some basic but important things today.
Exactly. So we're not going to preview anything because the dialogue is pretty simple. So why don't we listen to it for the first time, and we'll be right back.
Trick or treat.
Tom, aren't you a little too old to be trick-or-treating?
What are you talking about? Where's your Halloween spirit? Didn't you ever dress up in a costume and go around the neighborhood trick-or-treating with your friends?
Of course I did, but when I was 10, trick-or-treating is for kids. Plus, I'm sure people think you're a kidnapper or something, running around with kids at night.
Whatever. I'm going next door. I heard Mrs. Robinson is giving out big bags of M&Ms.
All right, we're back. So trick-or-treating.
Ding dong.
Ding dong. Trick-or-treat. All right, so we're going to explain what trick-or-treating is just in a little bit. But before we get into it, why don't we take a look at 4 important words in language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Well, the first one, Marco, is very important because it's the name of this special holiday that isn't celebrated everywhere. It's only celebrated in some places, and Americans, I think, love it above all else.
Right, yeah, Halloween. Now, this actually comes from All Hallows Eve, right?
That's right. So it's the night of the spirits of the dead.
Right, exactly. So the Day of the Dead. And as Catherine mentions, it's celebrated in different ways in different countries, but I think probably the United States is one of the few where people dress up and go trick-or-treating and things
That's
like
right.
this.
And
right.
Halloween is the last day of October, so October 31st. And it's a really fun holiday where mostly children dress up in costumes and they ask for candy.
All right, so to dress up means to get in a costume?
Right. Well, you could say dress up to mean a couple of different things, but in this case, you dress up in a costume. So that means you change your clothes so that you're wearing a costume, which is maybe a witch's costume or a vampire or something scary.
So you would say he dressed up as a vampire.
He dressed up as a vampire, or they got dressed up for the wedding.
Okay, very good. So dress up. And then we have the word kidnapper.
So the friend is afraid that his friend will look like a kidnapper if he
Right.
goes out trick-or-treating with the kids.
Right.
And so a kidnapper comes from the word to take or to grab. So kid grabber. And that means that you're going to take children from the streets and steal them.
Right. But you can kidnap an adult, right? So it's not only for kids.
That's right. It's for any kind of person who you take without them wanting you to. So against their will.
Okay, kidnapper. And finally, we have M&Ms. What are M&Ms? Not the singer,
M&Ms?
right?
No, M&M is spelled differently, the singer. This is a delicious chocolate treat. It's a candy, and it comes in big brown bags. And if you want them with peanuts, they come in a yellow bag. And
You
it's,
know your M&Ms.
oh man, I could tell you all the colors. But M&Ms are really delicious, and it's actually a brand, M&Ms.
It's a brand. Right, so many people will probably know it, but just in case, they're called M&Ms. Very good candy. All right, so these words were relatively easy and simple, so why don't we listen to our dialogue again? Let's slow it down just a little bit, and we'll be right back to take a look at Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
All right, we're back. So on Fluency Builder, we promised that we were going to look at this word trick-or-treating, so let's look at it now. Trick-or-treat, it's a verb, right? To trick-or-treat.
To trick or treat, and it comes from the words that we say when we're children to the person whose door we knock on. So, for example,
Okay.
I say,
And then I open the door.
I say trick or treat.
Okay, so what are you supposed to do in this when somebody says trick-or-treat?
Well, I'm a child. I'm holding my bag, and you're supposed to say Happy Halloween and give me some candy.
Okay.
All right. So trick or treat means you could either trick someone. You could play a trick on them, like scare them or put some toilet paper on their house, or you can give them a treat. Or accept a treat. And so the idea is, if you don't give me a treat, I will do something bad to you.
I see. But this doesn't really happen, right? Like when
really.
kids go to people's houses, they say trick-or-treat and then they get candy automatically.
Almost automatically, yeah. Sometimes people avoid the holiday and they close their doors and lock them and they don't answer the door.
Yeah.
And that's when someone maybe throws an egg at the house or,
Or
does
puts
something
toilet
mean.
paper on their tree.
Yeah. So trick or treat is what we say, but it's also something we can do. So we can go trick or treating.
Go trick-or-treating. Right. Okay. Very good. Trick or treat. And now we have another phrase here that's a little bit complicated. But when the friend answered the door, he said, "Aren't you a little too old to be trick-or-treating?"
All right, I like this phrase because it's sarcastic. The person is not asking a real question. He's saying, listen, you are too old to
Right.
be trick-or-treating. And so in this case, aren't you is a way to introduce something that we know is true, that we think is true. It's kind of rude and sarcastic.
So if I say, "Aren't you supposed to be at work?"
Oh,
Right?
shoot.
So it's in that form. You're not really asking a question. You're more demanding an explanation.
Right, it's a suggestion. It's like, you're probably supposed to be at work right now.
Right.
So Marco, aren't you supposed to be at school right now?
So do we always, but we always use it in that sense, right? Aren't you? And then
Yeah, aren't you? Aren't you a little old for that kind of an outfit?
All right. So, aren't you? All right, very good. So, those are the 2 phrases for Fluency Builder today. Let's listen quickly to our dialogue one more time, and we'll be right back.
Trick or treat.
Tom, aren't you a little too old to be trick-or-treating?
What are you talking about? Where's your Halloween spirit? Didn't you ever dress up in a costume and go around the neighborhood trick-or-treating with your friends?
Of course I did, but when I was 10, trick-or-treating is for kids. Plus, I'm sure people will think you're a kidnapper or something, running around with kids at night.
Whatever. I'm going next door. I heard Mrs. Robinson is giving out big bags of M&Ms.
All right, so Marco, have you ever trick-or-treated?
I did. I used to go trick-or-treating when I was little, and it was actually really fun.
We used to have competitions about who had the most candy.
I've heard about this.
Right, because you don't necessarily bring a bag, you bring a pillowcase.
Right.
And you fill your pillowcase with candy.
Now, the interesting thing is that sometimes you wouldn't necessarily only get candy from people.
Right. Sometimes you got weird things like pennies or toothbrushes or apples.
Yeah. So you would go to someone's house and they would give you an apple. You'd be like, okay.
But there was always an old lady who lived near, she lived in the neighborhood, and every neighborhood had one, you know? All my friends had a lady they would go to, and she gave the full-size candy bars.
Wow.
Right? Because normally stores sell small candy bars for the Halloween holiday because they're smaller, they're cheaper, it's easier to give them to many people. But there's always one person who has the big full-size candy bars, and everyone goes to her.
Right, exactly. And actually, it's amazing how Halloween is such an important event in the States because everyone dresses up, everyone puts out decorations or pumpkins outside of their homes. They have pumpkin carving contests, which are really cool, how they carve out pumpkins.
They make faces in the pumpkins, and then we can put a candle inside to light it up. It's really fun.
So that's called a jack-o'-lantern, right?
That's right.
Why is it called a jack-o'-lantern? Do you know?
I have no idea.
It's
Maybe
weird.
it's like a person, looks like a person's face.
Maybe a jack.
Because a lantern is a light, you know,
Right.
it's like a light with a candle in it, so.
Yeah. It's actually it's a very fun holiday. It's really interesting, and it's kind of strange when people really oppose it because they say that it's it has to do with the devil, or it's a pagan ritual and things like this. But it's just good fun.
It's fun. It's silly. Everyone likes to dress up in a costume.
What was the weirdest costume that you've dressed up as an adult or a child? Because I know you've dressed up as an adult as well.
I dress up every year. I was Pippi Longstockings last year. Well, as a child, one year I dressed up as an injured soldier because, my dad was in the military, so we always had fatigues around the house. And so I used his fatigues and I, put blood on my face and I had crutches. And people thought that I really had a broken leg.
Wow.
So they used to give me double. They gave me that year, they gave me double the candy because they thought, oh, here's a poor girl in crutches.
And trick-or-treating.
And my costume was an injured soldier, so they just didn't understand it. It's really funny.
Nice. Well, we want to hear about you guys if you go trick-or-treating or if you dress up for Halloween. I know that many places around the world have parties or festivities for Halloween and people dress up. So come to our website, englishpod.com. We'll see you guys there, and we'll see you guys next time.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Be not. Be not. A children's Halloween practice of asking for treats. Trick or treat. Attire in clothes suited to a particular role. Dress up. To seize and detain or carry away by unlawful force. Kidnapper. To go all over the place, to move quickly from one place to another. Run around.
Let's try that faster.
A children's Halloween practice of asking for treats. Trick or treat. Attire and clothes suited to a particular role. Dress up. Be not. Be not. To seize and detain or carry away by unlawful force. Kidnapper. To go all over the place, to move quickly from one place to another. Run around.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Trick or treat. It is common for young kids to go trick-or-treating on Halloween. Trick or treat. Last year when I went trick-or-treating, I got enough candy to last for a whole year. Trick or treat. Many parents don't allow their children to go trick-or-treating because they think it's dangerous. Dress up. When I was 8 years old, I dressed up as Superman for Halloween. Dress up. Many people don't like to dress up on Halloween. Dress up. It's cute to see all the children dressed up in their costumes. Be not. The teacher gave out the exams. Be not. Our company gave out Christmas bonuses this year. Be not. I hate Halloween. Why do I have to give out candies for free? Run around. There are so many kids running around that they are driving me crazy. Run around. I saw your dog running around the front lawn this morning. Run around. Pete's cat is running around here somewhere, so make sure to close the door. Be not. Aren't you a little too big to be playing with those kids? Be not. Aren't those pants a little too small for you? Be not. Isn't that shirt a little too old to be wearing it to a dinner party?